Welcome back. We're continuing our series on 2023 rookie quarterbacks. We've got Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Will Levis in the books. We're going to talk about Anthony Richardson in this episode. Make sure you check it out, sportsgamblingpodcast.com, as well as SGPN Fantasy Football, wherever you listen to your podcast. We're going to give you three pros, 3 cons, and a player comp. See you in a second. Welcome back. This is the SGPN Fantasy Football Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, and we're presented to you by WynnBET. WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia. From boosted same-game parlays to live in-game odds, WynnBET has what you need to win. If you sign up today, you bet $100, you're going to get a $100 free bet at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. State restrictions apply. Again, we're going to talk about Anthony Richardson. And so we talked about him a little bit before the show. And as far as our rankings, everything is in flux, but currently he is my quarterback 5. And Brad, he's your quarterback 5. Is that correct?
Is my quarterback 5, yep.
So with Anthony Richardson, he is 6'4", 232. He has the prototypical size you're looking for. And as you know, this was really his first year. And so you saw 327 passing attempts. He completed 176 of them, a little over 50% completion percentage, 2,549 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. On the ground, he was amazing. 103 rushing attempts, 654 yards with 9 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, so when we think Anthony Richardson, I had him at 4, and he's just tumbling down my rankings. I'll go through his pros first, and they kind of tie together a little bit. The first one is his scrambling ability, tied with the second one I'll talk about, which is elusive. He's very elusive in the pocket, right? So you get that from the 654 yards rushing and the 9 touchdowns that he had, right? You could just look at the stat sheet and say, hey, this guy's a pretty good rusher. I don't think he's like a pure rushing quarterback. He's not Kyler Murray. He's not Lamar Jackson. That is not the skill set that I see on the field. I think the player comp that I'll give here in a little while is really kind of conducive to what he does with his legs. That's why I use scrambling ability instead of rushing ability, because it's 2 totally different things to me. They did run a ton of RPO and he was able to get some yardage. He just doesn't look like a super explosive athlete to me, right? He's better at rushing the ball than any of these other quarterbacks that we're talking about today, or in this series, but he's still not at that top tier rushing level. The other one is the arm strength. This dude does have a rocket for an arm. He can chuck it down the field. It's not always good, but he does have the strength to throw the ball anywhere on the field as he's rolling out. He can make those cross-hash throws, those outside throws. He can do all of those things with his arms. He does have the arm strength to do that. Now let's look at his cons. He holds the ball entirely too long. And when you couple that with the inaccuracy that he has, it just doesn't look good. And when you look at his completion percentage, he is sub 60 every season and I say every season, his one season as a starter, he's sub 60% completion percentage. That's not where I want to see. That's not what I want. I need you to be better than that, even in the SEC. And his inaccuracy and the ability, the fact that he holds onto the ball so long, I think feeds into that, because he's throwing into coverage, he's getting sacked, he's throwing the ball away. There's just some things that don't mesh well for me. And then the third con is going to be his anticipation. So he's another one of these guys that's not going to be able to go through progressions. He just gets antsy, right? So he doesn't look and see. He doesn't take enough time. And he doesn't quite understand what he's seeing on the field. Now, does that mean he can't be coached up? Absolutely not. It doesn't. I just haven't seen it at Florida yet. So there are a lot of cons for me in Anthony Richardson, which is why he is at my number 5 quarterback for this 2023 class. And the player comp, there's a couple reasons I chose this comp. One, they're pretty similar in size. 2, I think their skill set is pretty similar. And 3, from an NFL draft perspective, I don't see this guy going in the first round. I think he's going to end up, this is just Brad's opinion, right? I'm not a pro NFL scout or anything like that, but it would not shock me to see him get the same draft capital as Dak Prescott, who is my player comp. So Dak had 2 really good years of production at Mississippi State. We saw him with more rushing yards and a better completion percentage for 2 straight years than what we saw this year from Anthony Richardson, whether we be talking throwing the ball or rushing the ball. And I think their draft capital is going to be similar. So I think Dak Prescott is a really solid example of what I think you're getting out of Anthony Richardson. The upside is there. He could develop into a Dak Prescott, right? A guy that I think you could argue is a top 10, maybe top 5. If you want to get fancy, if you want to get crazy, dynasty quarterback. But right now, Anthony Richardson's not there for me.
Yeah, and he is the boomer bust prospect that's going to be talked about by a lot of people this season. And people saw what happened with Jalen Hurts. And my comparison before the show was Alabama Jalen Hurts. And, this guy is a slow processor. He's not accurate. He's got poor mechanics. And he looks like he's a developmental prospect. And that could slip him into day 3. Someone could take a shot on him day 2, similar to a Kellen Mond type of a player. We still, we love the rushing. And from the fantasy community, he's going to go higher than some of these pocket quarterbacks in your draft. People love rushing quarterbacks, and they know the upside. So if they were to get him at the 210, 211 spot, and he were to hit, his hitting is going to be a lot higher than some of these other guys we're going to talk about. That's just my opinion.
And this series is brought to you by WynnBET. WynnBET is the official online sportsbook of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. WynnBET is active in a bunch of states, and there are tons of ways to win, including live betting and same-game parlays. The NFL playoffs are here, and they are running great promos, odds, and payouts that are happening right now at WynnBET. So if you're ready to play, sign up today and receive our special offer of bet $100, get $100. That is limited to state availability. And of course, if you hit the biggest long shot parlay of the week, you'll also get $1,000 free credit. There are so many things to choose from. All you have to do is head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET so they know we sent you. Again, that's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET. Offer is subject to change. Terms and conditions at WynnBET.com. Must be 21 or older and present in the state where playthrough WynnBET is available. If you're someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.